All right, guys, welcome back to Rise and Grind. Happy Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
I almost just said Monday.
I thought you were going to say Monday, so that actually really threw me off.
Happy
But
Tuesday.
it is Tuesday because we had a long weekend.
Yes.
It's very nice.
MDW, thank you to all our servicemen and women out there. Appreciate you guys, the ones who paid the ultimate price for us to be here, living our freedoms and everything we get in this country. So thank you. How was your MDW?
It was so good, minus the traffic that was everywhere. I tried to stay inside as much as possible because Jersey goes hard for Memorial Day weekend.
Hard.
And I did not want to be anywhere near that, honestly. But it was good.
I saw all these, like, it's so funny, like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, I saw all these influencers were posting, like, there's nowhere in the world that you need to be other than the Jersey Shore on Memorial Day weekend.
I was seeing that too. I was like, really?
Everywhere. And then I saw that one girl, Alex Earl. She was like, oh, my she's like MDW Jersey Shore or whatever else. It's like so many people were doing that. And I thought it was phenomenal.
Listen, it brings a lot of business to the shore, which these small businesses need so much, especially because the majority of their business happens during the summer because we're a beach town. Like all along the shore are beach towns. So it is good. Not so great for the traffic. So but
traffic is what it is. Jack actually lugged us down to Seaside Park.
Oh my
Seaside
gosh.
Heights Boardwalk.
Oh my gosh.
That was my friend that was telling you that is local.
It was really crowded. I kept seeing on Instagram it was crowded.
So at night, like the stuff that I saw on TikTok at night was way different from like when we were there because it was definitely busy as heck, but it wasn't like at nighttime it looked crazy.
Yeah, there was like a stabbing too. Like
really?
There was and then they ended up, I think it was last night or the night before.
Wow.
They ended up shutting down the boardwalk completely, except for some of the businesses.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. They heard Meg was coming. Mm-hmm. They just started shutting the boardwalk down, pulling everything
down.
Shut up shop. Like this is it. Megan's coming. We can't handle this. We can't handle this. But yeah, so and also shout out to the Knicks fans out there. We got a W there. Let's go. We were worried, but we pulled it off. Let's go. Love that.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Good overall weekend. M had a big win. We got dogs back.
Woo! Like that's probably the best win.
That was the best win of like a long time. So I'm really stoked to hear that.
It was amazing. I woke up Saturday morning, opened one eye, and I got a picture of Emily and her dog, and it was just incredible.
Well, I'm just gonna go kick rocks because Em didn't send me that picture. You gotta throw that in the media chat. You know what I mean? Like, sheesh. But let's kick off with the whole is iPhone gone thing because this is a really hot topic, as you guys may or may not know already, based on like, just the stuff that I've posted before in the past about like me switching to Android.
I was going to say, is this because you switched to Android and now all of a sudden?
Yeah, no. So I was on that wave already because I was under the impression, but no, it's not under the impression. It's like the facts. Like iPhone hasn't innovated in such a long time, or Apple better yet. And when they tried to, right, with the Vision Pros, it tanked terribly. Right now, the what's it called? Apple Intelligence is a huge whopping like boring fail because like I heard something the other day and I was like I agreed with it wholesomely. It's like Apple has done stuff recently to like impress their investors and to make sure that they seem like they're in the market and doing these things ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
But like Apple Intelligence doesn't do shit. Like it's not a ChatGPT. They're actually using ChatGPT, right? So like there's all these different things. But anyway, so I left Apple last October because I was tired of having the same brick in my pocket for the past like decade. And it was like, how many, like, and Apple's always so late to the fucking game with trends and like the new features and stuff. So it's like, you can only be like, oh, we're Apple. We know everything. It's perfect. Like for so long. And so I left, I got the cool Samsung Galaxy flip phone, which I actually love. Everyone's like, you're going to be back. And I'm so loving it.
I mean, the fact you just said October, you got your phone in October. That flew by.
Yeah. And I'm literally obsessed with it, by the way. So like I'm still obsessed with it. But anyway, this is not about that. This is about something massive. This is huge. If you did not hear this, this is like the biggest like news and that it's going to crush Apple. So Johnny Ives, the dude who literally designed the iPhone and the MacBook Pro, has started his own company. And he did it actually. He left Apple in 2015 or they parted ways, whatever. And he started his own startup called IO. And it was just purchased for $6 billion by Sam Altman in ChatGPT/OpenAI. And now together, Altman and OpenAI bought it because they're going to start creating the devices of the future. So the things,
that's amazing and so needed, honestly.
Right. Well, the things that we love the most, okay, aka our laptops, our Apple laptops, and our iPhones, this dude designed.
That's crazy.
So he
knows the technology behind it. Now it's just pushing it with AI, essentially, which needed to happen.
Yeah. I don't know his technical savviness. I think that's where OpenAI is going to come in. I'm sure he knows a lot of it, but his whole thing is the continuity and design. Like we all love iPhones.
Like the product design.
Like we all love iPhone, right? Because it's sleek, it feels like expensive, like it's nice, which is why when I did have one, I never had cases, just straight raw dog those shits. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, there's one thing that matters. And it's just the fact that like Apple stopped innovating. And the thing that I hate about it was like when Steve Jobs was around, like people were so motivated by Apple. They loved Apple. It was one of those things. And then like they killed BlackBerry. They killed Nokia.
Yeah.
They killed these major brands that if we went back 15, 20 years ago, you would never think BlackBerry would go out of business. You'd think, no way. Everybody has BlackBerry. The government has BlackBerries. There's no way on earth that BlackBerry is going to die. And I'm worried because I think that right now we're on the precipice of Apple becoming the next BlackBerry.
That would be insane for being how big of a company Apple is. But also it's like Apple has always historically has been the brand who pushes innovation. So for them to be so far behind is really alarming. I was thinking the other day that, we have Siri on our phones, but I hate using Siri and I'll just go to ChatGPT or, one of these other AI platforms. And why haven't they already talked about integrating that in replace of Siri? So it's just, they are really far behind.
I got to tell you, like when I think about what Apple does, like Apple clearly wants to have the best software and products out there. Like that's what matters the most to them. They want that. And like, they're really, really like focused on it. But the problem is they're like my biggest, like, what the heck's it called? Pet peeve, which is like when people are like, they wait for perfection to happen or like the perfect moment. And it's like Apple wants to put out the perfect product every time. And they wait and they wait and they wait till they can do it better than anybody else. And that waiting actually like screws them. And I think right now that's what's killing the brand and killing the company is that like people don't want to wait anymore. They don't care anymore about like, oh, I have to wait, or like Apple does this the best. Like I'm used to their OS. So many people like Joe Rogan already left Apple. Like they're huge people who you would think would never leave Apple, literally left Apple. So now the only reason why I brought this up was the person who was like Steve Jobs' right-hand man when it came to design, Johnny Ives, is now going to be starting new devices of the future.
Wow.
And so it's so insane to think about that, where it's like, again, I just like reiterate, like the dude who made the phones that we all love over the past like decade plus is now going to start his own phone with OpenAI. And like, it's so
it has to really
crazy.
Make you wonder though, like for him to have been so involved in where Apple is today, like that's like his baby in a way too. And so for him to walk away, it's almost like, is Apple not listening to what he wants to do and like the future is? Are they not move? And clearly they're not moving fast enough, but it's like internally, obviously there's something going on for him to take a whole step away from something he poured his life into.
I don't know what happened though. I don't know if he left in 2015 or like there was like I don't know if it was amicable. I have no clue. Actually, let's look that up real quick.
Yeah.
Because realistically, like either way, like that, I mean, not that that changes anything, but like it's one of those things where it's like, he is just the person who like innovated design for Apple. So just so insane. Like, did he leave amicably? Or was he like let go? Like,
well, he left in 2019 to start his own design firm. So it seems like it.
So he wanted to do something.
May have been amicable. Yeah, he wanted to do his own thing, essentially. So
I mean, that's a big hit, regardless.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
But Apple, they've definitely got to get their shit together because the world is moving really fast. Technology is moving really fast. And the iPhones, the only thing I can say about my iPhone over the past few years is I know it's time for a new one when my old one starts just moving really slowly. Like the operating system moves really slowly.
Right.
Other than that, and then you're just getting the same exact phone, maybe with a better camera quality, but like nothing different is about it when you get a new iPhone.
Also, Megan doesn't do any software updates. Throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
I do occasionally. It's like my quarterly when I tell Chris what's wrong and he's like, have you updated your computer?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Oh
my goodness.
What do you got for us? What's next?
So voice replies are expanding across platforms, which we've seen for a while, obviously with text messages and things of that sort. But now we have Instagram releasing voice note transcription within messages. YouTube is expanding to include voice replies now in comments. And then WhatsApp just brought voice notes to all groups as well. So out of nowhere, there's this huge expansion in voice notes overall. I feel like it's because people are getting used to like not having to use your hands to type out full messages. It's really easy to just talk to somebody. And then of course, there's that personal approach of it's way better to hear somebody's voice and to hear the tonality than to read a message and not understand exactly what they're saying. So I know a lot of businesses are moving towards using voice notes for messaging internally or even messaging with some of their customers rather than sending an email or even picking up the phone and calling. People are sending voice notes because it's like you can listen to this at your own leisure, but it feels more personal than a message. So
totally.
Really
but also, one thing I didn't mention that that Ives' goal is with these new devices, laptops, phones, whatever else, is that they're going to be heavy audio.
Oh.
So instead of, because the whole quick pitch was like, so if you're sitting here right now and you want to talk to ChatGPT, right? You have to like open up your laptop, pop in, ChatGPT, either log in if you're not already logged in, ask the question. He's like, that's gonna be a thing in the past. You're gonna be able to ask your devices things like on the spot anywhere.
I would love that because that's what I was struggling with last week. I was just juggling a bunch of things, trying to get Siri to like do different actions for me. And it wasn't doing that. But if you could have ChatGPT do that, or like your new device and you're talking to it as if it's an assistant and it can coordinate things for you seamlessly, that's amazing. That's exactly what I would need.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. So you won't be able to, what if you have to send like a private message? Will you be able to still write out a message?
They haven't said that, but I assume absolutely.
Yeah, I would think so too.
I think the key though is the continuity and the ease of access to ask like OpenAI questions, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a phone being built with OpenAI as the software, right? Pretty crazy.
It is really crazy. And there's a lot of new technology that your Ray-Ban glasses are expanding outwards. But I also just saw that Warby Parker is doing a version of that too. And that's voice activated, right? Your glasses. Yeah. So there's a lot coming out that I think is going to be more voice activated than sitting there and typing in what you need.
Right. He's like, because he said another thing, the future has less screens.
Which is actually really nice.
Yeah, seriously, it's different.
Yeah,
and I think it's something that we definitely need.
But what does that look like? That's so interesting.
Also,
like
good note, screens. Emily, for the future, because I know it was the first time I came in today, and I was like, we're gonna do a new setup in here, and we're doing it on our podcast couches. But Megan's like chopped off at the head over here.
Just like
you're a floating head right now.
There we go. That's a little bit better.
But anyway, just good to know.
Because you're tall. I need like a booster seat in these chairs.
But anyway, so we'll see how that. But the future having less screens, I think, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Stripe's one-click checkout?
Yeah. So Stripe just introduced one-click checkout. So if you're on a website, so like a lot of the sites that we're working with, and we're going to start to integrate this with our e-commerce websites. But when you think about Amazon, why is Amazon so amazing, right? It's because you could do things quickly and easy, and you're in and out, right? So Stripe is building that type of exact continuity into other platforms so that like you can get that same level on different websites. And I think that's massively important because like that's one of the Amazon's quadrillion dollar advantage is that you can go in, check out, like perfect example. I ran out of some vitamins. I went on and within 2 clicks, boom, I was out. And so if, giving small businesses and these e-commerce stores the opportunity to have that same Amazon-esque type of checkout is freaking huge.
Yeah.
Because it's so annoying. If you go to even massive companies who have their own websites, like you go to their, like, whether it's like I don't know, like the company they got these shirts from, right? Like it's called State and Liberty. I went on the site and like I've bought from them before, and I had to like put in my credit card information or whatever else.
Oh my gosh, no! It's too many steps.
That's what I mean. And then what I noticed, so after it, when I went back again, it had my credit card on file, so technically I could click it, but I had to go back in again and like add the zip code or the security thing or whatever else. So it's a couple clicks at the end. So if you're able to do that quickly, that's a huge advantage.
It really is, because I have even found that, to even have to take out your credit card and put in the numbers, people are already moving off of your site and going to somebody who
100%
maybe has Apple Pay or PayPal integrated, where they can just click, purchase, they're done.
Right.
And so if you don't have that, you absolutely need to consider it, because you're probably losing a lot of customers who just don't want to take out their credit card and put in their information. Also, nowadays too, a lot of people are concerned about security. Like, I have to sit here and put in my credit card number over and over and over again, as opposed to just one click. So it's all about convenience.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's what it's about.
Yep.
That's why we're building robots, so that we don't have to do less shit.
That is so true.
It's crazy.
That is really true. All right. I am going to move over to perception hacking to build your brand. And I talked about this, I think with you last week a little bit, the story of Tommy Hilfiger and how he really created himself to be a brand that's well known and competes with a lot of other luxury brands. And when he got started, he didn't have a brand. He didn't have a clothing line. Nobody knew who Tommy Hilfiger was, but he wanted to compete with, Calvin Klein and Perry Ellis and some of these larger men's designers. And so let me see if I can actually cast this billboard here. He put out a billboard that made it seem like he was just as big as some of these other brands here. And let's see, here we go. So this was his first billboard. It was in Times Square in 1985. And it's the 4 great American designers for men are, and all of these are pretty recognizable, especially back in the day. You have Ralph Lauren, Perry Ellis, Calvin Klein. And then the last one, nobody knew at all, obviously, because he was just coming into the market. Right. And he put his logo down at the bottom saying this is the least known of the 4. And then when his clothing line did drop, everybody was there being like, oh yeah, Tommy Hilfiger. They were talking about Tommy Hilfiger as if they knew who he was, because he associated himself with Ralph Lauren, with Calvin Klein.
Right.
And so he built this perception that made it seem like, hey, I've been here all along. I'm one of the great designers. And if you don't know who I am, then you probably don't know who your designers are. Right. So it's really like fake it till you make it type of perception. And once he did that, he blew up. He didn't have to go through the years of building his brand and trying to get people to trust him. He just said, hey, my name is associated with these 3 that are already well known.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Didn't he just redo this again though, somewhere?
I don't know if he redid it.
I keep seeing that all over the place right now.
Do you?
Yeah. Unless they're just talking about the story of it, but like I keep seeing it everywhere right now.
Yeah. I saw the story on Instagram a few weeks ago, and that's what reminded me of, like, that's such a good story for other businesses who, like, you want to start a business. How do you build yourself to compete with all of these major brands? Fake it till you make it 100%. And see what happens. But perception really is, and social media is honestly all perception, right? That's not people's real lives. People try to show themselves authentically on social media, but a lot of what you see isn't real.
Yeah.
And so how can you make your brand perceived as one of the ones that you would like to be?
It takes a lot of confidence. And the one thing I'll say is, like, especially like early days when I was like starting Adapting Social, like I would be out there, pounding the doors, hitting the streets, cold calling, doing everything I could to try to get people to work with Adapting Social. And I remember at the time I would say, hey, I got to go. Like if I was on a pitch and, somebody was like potentially interested, I would be like, I'm going to go back to my office and whatever else. And they would be like, all right, well, let's meet at your office next time. And my excuse always was, well, it's being painted right now. Why don't I come here again next time? And the next time you come to my office. And eventually, luckily, my mom, she was a real estate agent at the time. There was like for a little boutique agency, and they let me use their office in Point Pleasant. And I remember like that was like it was a few months into me telling all those people like, hey, like you can go to my office eventually. And then they came into our office, and they're like, oh, cool, whatever. But I think it takes, and I've heard my guy Drake say this too, is like sometimes visualization is going out there and like and putting that level of confidence into the world. And sometimes people could look at that as like, well, you're lying, or that's delusional, or it's not a reality. But you know what? Sometimes people need that. And I know that for me, that worked for me. Like, because I was telling people, yeah, I have an office. Because in my mind, I'm like, I know I'm going to get an office, and I'm going to have a team, whatever else. Because I would say that too, like, hey, I have a team, whatever. I'll sit to the team, we'll go through whatever. And like, well, let me meet your team. And I'm like, well, they're behind the scenes, like at the time, right? So I was like, I had to keep pulling this stuff together.
It's you in different hats.
yeah, exactly. Like it's me in different outfits. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, you do have to start somewhere. And that Tommy Hilfiger is a great example. But there's also the other example of the spandex girl, Blake Lively. Like her story is incredible, right? Like, and if you don't know the story, it's incredible. She literally, what the heck was that thing called again? We have two girls in the room. We don't know what this is. Spanx. So it's like she invented Spanx, but when she first got the opportunity to pitch it, I think it was Nordstrom or Saks. It was one of those two, or one of these big companies like that. But they were willing to give her a one store, like 60-day trial. And she went and she bought all of her Spanx from that store herself and had her friends go buy them.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy crap, it's sold out quickly. Yep. We're going to put it in 2 stores now. Put it in 2 stores. She had all of her friends go again and buy them again.
Yeah.
And the whole point though is, if you look at that, you can be like, yo, that's snaky. Like, people didn't want that. She bought them. She's lying to the store, making it seem like whatever. But again, now she's a multi-billionaire and everybody wears Spanx.
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes you have to do that, and it's pretty crazy. But that's just how it goes sometimes. You got to like believe in yourself, you have to invest in yourself, to buy things, like that. So again, everybody's start is different, but I think that's awesome that Tommy Hilfiger did that.
Yeah. And same thing for Sarah Blakely for doing that with all of her friends too, because honestly, it's like sometimes you just have to believe something, or you have to see something to believe it. And all of those stores just needed to see that the demand was there.
Totally.
Same thing for Tommy Hilfiger. The demand was there once people thought he was bigger than he actually was.
Right.
All right. We're moving on to AI overviews causing complete panic right now in the SEO world.
Yeah. A lot of small businesses to large companies, they're like, what do we do here? Because search is kind of being hijacked by generative AI. So people are leveraging ChatGPT heavy. They're leveraging Grok, obviously Gemini, an AI overview in the actual components of it. So it's just one of those things right now where people are like, what do we do? How do we rank? And, the one thing I want to say, obviously we're helping major brands like Liquid IV all the way to like small businesses rank in AI overview. And if you don't know what that means is essentially, if you're on Google, right, and you ask it a question like, what's, the best pizzeria near me, or if you ask it certain questions that could be like a historical question, like, where did Albert Einstein live, or where's he from? It typically will generate a response through Gemini rather than you going through, organic listings like you used to and just searching and doing your own research and finding it. So right now, obviously that's what AI overview is doing, right? So most people are going to these generative AIs, and now Google's doing that. But the one thing I want to revert back to is that there's one thing that will never change. And it's, where is ChatGPT? Where are these things getting their information from? That hasn't changed. They're getting it from websites, right? So the websites that exist, whether it's a local guide or it's something that's more of like a, just website in general, that's like a health website or whatever, they're still getting that information from sites, obviously. So like that doesn't change. So when you're thinking about like, what do I have to do drastically different? You have to remember that the basics still matter, right? Like, so
content is everything.
Right.
Still.
Having great thought leadership type content is so important. And that's why I want to make sure that everyone knows that, like, it's not like, all right, I'm going to completely throw out the window what I was doing in the past. Like, you have to do that plus way more now.
Yeah.
It's not just, okay, well, now everything's changed. I have to do different things. Like, yes, things are changed, but you have to do the newer things that work for AI and ChatGPT when they're doing their research. So it's not a matter of stopping something. It's a matter of doing way more things and being way more abundant. Because now the difference is that a search engine would crawl your website and it would look for keywords, right? Now you have, picture like a person, right? That's their job, is to like look and find the best source. It's like an agent, right? So like when you're searching, you're asking it a question. It's like an individual person, which is obviously like kind of like an AI bot, doing that research for you, right? And based in the future, the interesting part is based on interests of the actual like searcher, or slash not searcher anymore, but the customer almost, right? Because the AI agents are serving us, so we're the customer. So it's going to know different things to ask. Like as an example, ChatGPT knows so much about my freaking life. It's insane. Like I feed it so much stuff because I want it to help me. Yeah. Right. So, but like if I said like, hey, I'm looking for a vacation to go to in Florida, right? ChatGPT is not going to just pull up random websites and things that are vacations just because I said vacation. It's factoring in, but without me even asking it, it's factoring in the fact that like I have 3 kids under 3, and that I like have, you know, a son that has a heart thing, and I have, 2.5-year-old who's running, 2 kids, 1 kid who's starting to walk. So it knows all these things. So it's going to base my like vacation on that without me even asking it to.
Because the relevance of it, if it gave you anything else, it wouldn't be relevant to your specific life.
But that's how tailored it is, right? Yeah. So I think that's so important, and we can't overstep that. So when you went to Google before, you were asking best things for kids' vacations, right? Like pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And like, that's the key here, is that like, it just comes down to that. Yeah. So like, it literally just comes down to that. So like at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, we are in that position where we are setting up like, it's a whole completely different world where like we have these AIs being like a secretary, right? So like, hey, go find me the best dinner. The secretary knows.
And it's doing research, which is really, so it's like, it's not just finding content on your site. Now you have to also create content on Reddit. Your reviews matter, right? It's looking to see, well, what is the business saying about themselves, but what are people's experiences with this business too? So it's really important to not just create content on your site, but get people to leave reviews about their experiences. Go to Reddit, start looking at the threads that are going on about your business. Try on social media, put, the content that you're putting on your site, put out there on social media, because it's taking all of these different sources and it's using it as a way to say, hey, I did all of my research based on your preferences and your lifestyle. Here's what I think is best for you, given all of this material, not just based off of your website. So it's really important to expand outside of just one platform.
Totally. And so either way, just everybody's panicking, as it should be, because again, things are changing rapidly, and you have to feed the agent the best stuff, right? So like, that's going to be the key difference. And obviously we're helping a lot of brands do that. If you need help there, let us know. We got your back. We're helping Fortune 500 clients with it down to small businesses and startups. So we got your back there. What's
going to be really interesting though, is seeing how Google Ads is about to change.
I know.
Because Google Ads, for search ads, you pay for those first few positions or page 1. And so if we're now moving into AI overviews, I feel like Google's going to start to maybe release something where you're going to be able to pay to be in the AI overviews in the future. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Right. Well, not only that, but picture how ChatGPT is going to potentially do that.
Yeah.
Right. Like like how do you make money on anything? How do you monetize?
Ads,
right. It's like it's ads, right? Like it's recommendations.
I keep saying this about. Have you watched Black Mirror yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna watch it in the office. I'm gonna sit you down.
I don't watch TV really.
We're gonna watch it.
I'm not a big TV guy.
They have an episode that's like this though. It's just like that's how a lot of businesses make their money, or platforms, I should say, is through ad placement.
Right.
And so we'll see it eventually. Totally. On ChatGPT.
I remember when Facebook, so this was like a little bit before you were born, but when Facebook first launched the ads, and I did the first ad, because that's when they had the side banners. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
It was just on the sides.
Yep, I do remember those.
It wasn't in your feed. It was only on the sides. And I remember I launched my first like Adapting Social one, and I was like, yo, fucking famous.
So cool.
It's like, and the targeting was so terrible. Like you had zero, you could do pretty much nothing.
So much more broad, 10 years ago.
Oh, 100%. It was broad as shit.
Yeah, it was so broad.
And no, this wasn't 10 years ago. This was like this was like more than that. I think it was like 13 or 14 years ago.
Oh my God.
So that's what I'm saying. I think you were still in preschool. But at the time, I'm just kidding. But at the time though, like I remember being like, it's so crazy because like you would only see a few people, because only a few people were doing it at the beginning, obviously. So you would just see like a few people. And it's just like so crazy how much it's evolved, but like to the point,
it's so much more expensive now.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because back then it was like, you can put an ad out there for $50 and get a pretty good return for it. The cost per click was low.
I think at one point I was spending like $2 or $3 a day.
Seriously. So low, and you could reach so many people. But then again, the targeting it's like we had such an issue with finding the right person because the targeting parameters were so broad back then. So things have changed. Things are going to continue to change with ads. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Crazy. What else you got for us? Is that it?
I think that's it. Yeah.
That's all she wrote?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, happy Tuesday. And again, we have a lot of stuff going on here. Every Monday, you can check in here. We are live on all platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Meta apps, obviously IG, Facebook. And so you know where to find us Monday, 9 a.m. Comment in. What do you think about our 9 a.m. time slot? We're considering changing it to be a little bit later, maybe a little bit earlier, get Megan out of bed earlier.
Gosh, I would just love that.
But yeah, guys, so thank you for tuning in. We hope you guys crush the rest of your week. Get a short week here. Probably got to be super productive. So get after it. And we'll see you back next week, guys.